Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is your host,
Vico.
and Urban, and this is Shining Spotlight, the stream where we highlight creatives in the industry in order to inspire you guys. But today we have a special guest who's made headway in the J-pop industry as a J-pop idol. Her J-pop career lasting almost 3 years, being considered to be the first black pop idol in J-pop. Today we welcome the spectacular, amazing Amina Du Jean, and or also known as Aminyan. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it, and we have a lot of questions about the whole J-pop thing.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So, as far as going on that journey of actually, going into the whole J-pop and I want to call it an industry. What inspired you starting off when you were, I'm assuming this is something that when you were young, when you were a kid, at least from when I was listening, that you had these aspirations. Like, why specifically in the J-pop, and why did you want to be an idol, per se?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we were just mentioning how I'm originally from Detroit. I live in San Francisco now. You guys are from Detroit, I'm guessing as well. And I don't know if you're born and raised in Detroit, but the whole Motown thing, it's like everywhere. When you grow up, you hear it. You hear stories about the Motown groups when you're a kid, your grandma might have went to school with somebody like that. So I always had an interest in kind of like pop groups. And I think it might have came from that background. And I got into Japanese music when I was in middle school. So I was kind of a fan of anime, but I got more into the fashion and the music when I was in middle school. So in order to practice my Japanese, I started doing live streams in Japanese when I was in high school, and I got a following because of that. So I was already making music and stuff. And I got an offer from a talent agency in Japan. So I was like, okay, I may as well just go and try to be an idol there. That's kind of my condensed version of the whole reason why I wanted to be an idol in Japan.
Okay. So you essentially, you kind of went in a different direction than a lot of, I would say, people would consider otaku, or people who are more, interested in, I'm going to say, Japanese culture than, in the States. You took the J-pop route. So were you ever into K-pop, too? Even though that's very different, I want to make sure I make that distinction.
Yeah. So when I was young, K-pop was starting to get big, but it wasn't anywhere. Now it's everywhere, So they didn't really have the resources back then. Back then, J-pop was still bigger because anime was bigger, right? So anything to do with Japan was still bigger back then. I actually did a little bit of K-pop, but it just wasn't. I think if I was maybe 10 years younger, I probably would have been totally into K-pop. But just because, when I was born and everything, Japan was the big thing. So that was what made me kind of go towards it.
Okay. So, take me through when you I believe you posted on the platform. Was it Nico Doga?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you originally posted on there. What was that process like? Because that's where you were discovered, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, wow, you did a lot of research. Yeah. I was on Nico Doga, which is it was Twitch before Twitch was popping. Twitch was out back then, but it just didn't really have that many people back there, and it was all Japanese. So I saw this thing that you can join. It was called World Otaku Mate, and it was for people that were otaku, interested in otaku culture from all around the world. And I wanted to join to be a streamer on there. So that was kind of how I started streaming on there. They gave me a lot of support, and then their parent company was the one to sign me as a talent before I went to Japan.
Okay. So this really started before you even went over there. They already were kind of working on kind of building your career from the ground up. So when you actually got over there, did you end up switching agents, or was it something where
Yeah, okay. So they were big into Visual K. I don't know if you guys know that. It's popular with anime fans too. It's rock kind of. Malice Miser. I'm trying to think about Visual K. Gawked, that kind of stuff, kind of rock music. They were known for that, and they were a magazine company. So it was really strange that like they kind of took me on. They just saw like potential, but they didn't really have the experience that I needed to like grow my career. So I ended up changing like a year into me living in Japan.
Okay. So when you had to study Japanese a lot to even get to that point. Now, this is just I want to say this is just me talking. I know I've studied, a little bit of Japanese myself, and
Nice.
I don't think it's as hard as everybody makes it out to be to an extent.
Right.
But I will say that, at least for me, like studying, another language, it can be hard if you're not actively practicing it, like, unless you're doing immersion. So, how did you, I guess, get proficient or like get fluent enough to be able to be considered to be able to work in Japan before you got over there? Was it just practicing? Did you have someone that you actually practiced with? I'm just throwing this question out here because I'm sure there are people who are wanting to know this.
Yeah, I get this question a lot. So as you guys know, I don't know what part of Michigan you're in. East Detroit area. There's a lot of Japanese there, actually. It's like the biggest population outside of Japan, one of the biggest outside of Japan. So I take private lessons. And when I was growing up in Michigan, I don't know how old you guys are, but like probably around the same age. Like when we were coming up, I guess I felt like there were a lot of more opportunities to learn Japanese because people thought if we're going to work at the plant, like learning Japanese would be like beneficial. I don't know if you had that experience, but I kind of had that experience. So there's a lot of opportunities to learn Japanese like at our schools. So I took private lessons and then I took classes in high school. Then what really helped me, of course, like you said, was like immersion, like being there. But you can definitely learn Japanese on your own. I think now it's a lot easier with YouTube and stuff. You could definitely become like the basics just on your own without being there.
Okay. Really quick, we had a comment that just came up from Imaginos TV. This is really great to know. I have another friend named Catherine Saint.
I've heard of her. Himeka. Yeah.
Himeka, who became an idol, live Miser and Gax. I probably butchered all those names.
Malice Miser. Love Malice Miser and Gax. Yeah. She was from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Himeka.
So do you actually are you familiar with her? Like you know her? Or?
I don't personally know her. I know of her. But yeah, she was pretty big. She was like an idol singer. She's from Canada.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, have you ever actually, before I even get into I guess more so your experiences, have you ever watched the anime called Perfect Blue before?
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I love Satoshi Kon. That's great. Yeah.
I'm probably jumping in this pretty hard, but for anybody who hasn't watched Perfect Blue before, it kind of almost shows I guess a perspective of maybe the life of someone who is a J-pop idol. I don't know if this is accurate to the experience of most or all. I don't want to make that assumption, because I'm speaking from the outside, looking in. But how do you feel about that film, and does it relate to you in any kind of way as someone who's going through the experience?
I love Perfect Blue so much. I really think that the story, it is about an idol in Japan. And I think there are some things that are accurate. Like when I did gravure, which is bikini modeling, it's very popular, common for idols in Japan. I got a lot of hate after that, which is kind of similar to the movie. So I guess there are some similarities in idol culture and the movie. But what I really enjoy about it is that the story, it didn't necessarily have to be about an idol, right? Because they did the same thing with Black Swan with Natalie Portman. I don't know if you know that Hollywood movie. Yeah. It was basically based off of Perfect Blue, to my understanding. And to me, it was a story about identity and a story of not knowing your identity and having this kind of alter ego sort of thing. So I think that was why I really liked it, because it was about idols. And it was a commentary on the idol industry, but I liked it because it was a bigger thing that everybody could relate to.
Yeah, I'm I think it's one thing I think I love about that movie is you don't know who you don't really know. I mean, I'm not saying you don't know what happened at the end, but it's kind of left up into interpretation who's actually who. At the end, and I don't want.
You don't know what reality is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you have to watch yourself.
What's that one movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Are you talking about
What I'm talking
Inception?
Inception. They
Yeah.
based that off of Satoshi Kon, his other movie, Paprika. So if you haven't watched that, I really recommend Paprika. It's like a masterpiece.
I
It's
haven't. I need to.
beautiful.
Loved that
Yeah,
movie.
I recommend it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that movie was yeah. I feel my seal of approval. You guys watch that one, or
What
any
did
of
you
the
think about
Cost
it?
movies. To be honest, uh, that took me down Trip City for real. You want to talk about a roller coaster of a movie? You know, you got. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but you got a lot
Yeah.
of different let's say insight on people relations. You know what was real, what was not real, and he just loves milking that type of it. I swear. It, yeah, but what's kind of going back to it? What was it looked like you were somewhat inspired. Your style of sorts was inspired by Gwen Stefani's group. How Jupiter Girls?
Yeah. Oh, so I was really into that when I was like a kid. Obviously, like people find some problems with it now. Like, I guess you can criticize it, but this is like the early 2000s, okay? So I was like really into that. I like the whole style, the fashion. So that's something I still kind of enjoy is like Harajuku fashion. I think it's very unique. And it impacts a lot of the fashion we see now, like in America too.
Yeah, well, actually, expand on that. Really, what other fashions are you referring to?
I mean, if you think about like Nicki Minaj's like early career, she was Harajuku
Yeah,
Barbie, right? That's like all based
right.
of
Yeah,
like Harajuku in Japan. Her now not just Nicki Minaj. I mean, look at Lady Gaga. Like, think about like every like musician now. Doja Cat. They all like wear like a bunch of different wigs. They wear like a bunch of different styles. Like very very colorful. I feel like a lot of that owes to Japanese street fashion.
okay, you think
But of
so?
course, a lot of Japanese street fashion is also based off of like American stuff too. So it's kind of like this cultural exchange.
Okay, so uh, you got the fashion you developed from the Harajuku Girls. Uh, what's I mean, because I checked out some of their videos, and I agree. I think a lot of it, came from there, which was surprising to me. To be honest, I knew nothing about the group before recently. So when I was looking into them, I was like, wow, this actually looks like what we're seeing today in America. I was like, they got their style going on, get it in over there. But so what was for just trying to get more of an idea behind behind the scenes on your career field over there. So we know how you kind of got introduced into the scene when you first got there. I mean, could you elaborate more on some of the trials and tribulations you kind of went through, just as an idol? Most people kind of think this is just like a something you just get into, and you just you naturally
Blow up.
you just gotta
Everything's
you
amazing.
just show yourself, and you're the stuff. As long as you kind of look good, you're cool. But I mean, could you expand a little more on that?
Yeah. So my biggest hurdle was dancing. I am not a good dancer. And then as you know, if you're black, people just expect you to like bust a move like so easily. I don't know if y'all have experienced that, but the
Oh,
bar is
100%.
like so much higher for everything. Singing, dancing, I don't care what. If you're black, like you have to be like 110 because people expect you to be like amazing. And I was
And
not
like,
at
where
that
the
level.
rhythm at?
So yeah, yeah. So
Like
dancing was
if y'all
always like the
advertise
hardest
it
part.
everywhere, where's the rhythm?
Yeah, yeah,
It's very particular,
exactly.
right? Though it's very particular. They expect you, when it comes to the nightclub scene or any of those freestyle arenas. They expect you to be the stuff, but something
Ballroom.
more like or something like ballroom dancing, waltz, foxtrot, one. They're like, well, we already don't expect you to know that much. So
Yeah,
so
so that was
so
my hardest part.
well,
Sorry, go on.
I mean, yeah, I was say so. I mean, what all forms of dancing did you have to learn?
Yeah, so when I started, so I think I was like, when I first went there, the company that I work with, I was like just a solo, so I was by myself. I was performing in Akihabara, so I had to plan everything myself, my outfits, my songs, everything. I'd make up a dance. But like when I moved on to like a group, they had a professional dancer, and he was actually Chris Brown's like former like dance teacher. So this company was like pretty good and like very professional. And we trained at Millennium Dance Studio, which is like they have like a LA one, but they have a Tokyo one too. We train there, and they're like really known for like dancing and stuff. But yeah. So what kind of dancing was it? I guess idols. I don't know how much you guys know about like idols, but you're not expected to be like amazing. The point of an idol is like you want to see the person grow into like a star. So we were like doing kind of like hip hop dance, but we weren't like amazing. And even then, I had struggles with that. So yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever have to deal with any like competition amongst idols? Meaning, like, did anybody ever get like jealous or say, "Oh, you know, like, what are you doing?" Or you know, you get what I'm saying? Is that actually a struggle within the industry or no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have a bunch of like young women. Of course, there's going to be like some issues. You know, that's just any industry. It's sad to say, but you know, people tend to be like competitive in that kind of way. So, like in my group, I had a little bit of that, but that person, you know, the management dealt with it very well, and like other group members like stood up for me, so that was fine. But yeah, it's like school or like work or something. Wherever you meet other people, you know, people kind of have beef with you, but.
Okay, so again, you know, let's say, you know, for another young lady coming from Detroit wanted to you know, aspire down your route. I mean, you know, tell me more. I mean, what should they expect in this arena? I mean, you said, you know, you got folks that's going to be coming at you. I mean, what can they expect?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done a few videos about this, like how to become an idol in Japan, like on my personal channel. So I give like a little more information about this, and I guess like what to expect.
Below too.
Oh yeah. I'm not trying to show, but yeah. But I'm trying to think. So what can people expect? So, I don't think it's that hard to become an idol in Japan. Well, if you can get to Japan, you can become an idol. If you look decent, and I hate to say that. I don't mean that to be rude. Please don't cancel me right now. But I just mean like,
get the
if you just have like a basic kind of look, that's just what people want. Like you don't have to be. My point is like you don't have to be like a supermodel or something. Like you can just be like a normal girl, like college student or something. Can sing okay. I would try to be better at singing and dancing than I was if you can. But if you can sing like okay, and you can speak Japanese, like that's like the most important thing. But besides that, I think that it's not that hard to get into. Or you can just make your own group too, which is what a lot of people are doing now.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, to even piggyback off that, you know, folks, you know, there's a universal look that we all know. You know, when you go over to Japan, as far as their entertainment scene, there's a look they're looking for. That's what she's talking about. Like
so there's actually that look. Just a few pictures that I have here. Let me see here that I've seen at least online. So there's this right here.
That was me.
Here. This one right here.
Very
kawaii. We have. I don't know if that was probably just you out and about, but that's just those are the things
that I saw.
You know, I was just showing pictures. So that was like during your J-pop days, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yeah. Those are pictures.
So, like, I guess I'm curious, like, with this particular one, do you remember actually taking this picture, or do you guys do so many that it's like, I don't remember any of them?
I specifically remember this because it was, like, for chocolate for Valentine's Day. So I remember, like, having to do, like, the chocolate. It was, like, Valentine's Day photo set.
Oh, was it, like, a commercial, or?
No. Just for, like, social media.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The cool thing about Tokyo is they have like all these like cool like photography studios and stuff, and they do all these different things. But sorry, what were you saying? I interrupted.
No, I actually expand on that much. You said they had all these different photography studios. Give us a bit of imagery of like what this scene looks like. I mean, you know, we can assume some of the studios there are just maybe a few basic lights or whatever.
Oh, before you do that, before you do that, I just want to say anybody who's just coming in, make sure you go ahead, you share this video around and throw a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel and it helps out the video. It's greatly appreciated. And make sure you check out Amina's channel when you get the chance, obviously after we're done. But let's get back to it.
What you were saying about-
so the photography studio, they have like all these different like really elaborate photography studios, which is cool if you're like a cosplayer. That's something I wish I had done a lot more when I was there, because I really liked cosplay before I moved to Japan, but I was so busy that I didn't really like get into that. But I don't know if you guys like cosplay or anything, but they have like all these like photography studios, and a lot of cosplayers use them.
A lot of cosplayers use them. Now, these studios, did they seem like they were more cosplay heavy? Because it seems like when we talk about or when we see like a lot of like professional cosplayers, it seemed like a lot of them is really big in Japan. Like it seemed like it's more of a thing there versus over here it's kind of just starting to really kind of pick up.
Yeah, it's definitely an industry there. Like I remember being in middle school watching some video on YouTube. I don't know how long ago, 15 years ago. And it was like this woman on YouTube that says she was like a professional cosplayer and she made like, I don't know, a decent living doing that. And this is like a while ago. So I assume that that's still like a thing there. But here, like you said, I think it's only just picking up. I'm trying to think how they because they have like these photography events. I think the reason why they can do that in Japan more is because like most people live in like a major city. Like, obviously there's people in the suburbs and stuff, but a lot of people live in Tokyo has like 40 million people in Metro Tokyo. So if you do a cosplay event, you have a potential of 40 million people like possibly coming to, your event. Whereas in the US, you can't regularly hold that kind of, like, let's say Detroit, there's like 500,000 people. If we're including Metro Detroit, like 1 million people really, like, you can't really make a living. I don't know. So they have like events and stuff. And I think that's how they make their living. But it's cool that like Patreon exists now and like Instagram, all these people are making livings from their passions.
Yeah. So kind of going back to you in the matter, what's so if I were to gauge it, you had a lot of like commercial. Did you have a lot of commercial deals, or how was that? How did that go in there?
I did some commercial deals with my group, but not like individually. So yeah.
Okay, now because again, when I hear about this this interest with a lot of women, typically cosplayers who want to take it to the K-pop scene or the idol scene. A lot of their concerns is about, of course, the back alley deals, doing stuff uncomfortable to them. Were there anything that you felt that was like uncomfortable when you're trying to make those commercial deals?
I mean, of course, like guys might ask you out or something like this and say like, oh, let's just, they're gonna help you or something like that. And of course, like if you're 30 years old, maybe, or like in your late 20s, you might know like, okay, I know like what the deal is. But if you're like in your early 20s or like 18, 19, you might not really like understand. You might like, oh, this person's just really nice. They're trying to help me. So it's that kind of thing. Like sometimes like not like straightforward, nothing like Harvey Weinstein or nothing like that, but more just like, kind of, oh, will you be my girlfriend, or, kind of uncomfortable situations. But it wasn't that often that happened. And then also in the underground idol scene, there is like a thing of like people going out with their fans like after the show, like to lunch or something, which that's not that big of a deal. Like if it's a big group of them, I guess it's not really that weird. But for me, I always wanted to kind of like have like some separate boundary. So I guess that could make some people feel uncomfortable, but yeah.
So yeah, I was reading too that I think I may have read this in Forbes, where you had an issue with the, and maybe I might be saying this wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but like with the purity aspect that a lot of times they expect from like idols to kind of act and be a certain kind of way or whatever. And again, I might be way off base, so I apologize if I am, but can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit more, or at least talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. So just a quick spiel. Idols are expected like not to date and not to just pretty much not smoke, not drink, just to be like have a good public image. And that can be kind of limiting. For me personally, I feel like it was more for like non-Japanese people who were like fans of me because I had like this idea of like how idols in Japan were supposed to be, and I feel like they were even stricter, you know what I mean, than like idol otaku in Japan. I feel like people like outside of Japan were like a little more like harsher, just because they have this idea of it. Yeah, this is not
Okay,
what
so
it's
I'm
supposed to
going to
be.
be spot on. Do you think that, I'm gonna say, black people. I mean, I'm black, so I feel like I can say this. Do you feel like, black people
Yeah.
were, a little bit more, like our community was more harsher in a way toward it, or?
Yeah, about my singing and dancing, of course. We already talked about this because the bar is so high for that. But not like, I'm trying to think. Like, if I did like more like risque, like photo shoot, maybe like some girls would get like mad at me. But I don't know if it was necessarily like a black white thing. I think it was just like people who are more conservative, So I don't know.
Okay. So
I think for black people, though, when you're doing something different, people do kind of like laugh. But yeah.
So I guess then I really want to get into more of the aspect of racism. How much racism did you experience? That's really the real question.
That's a good question. That is a good question. So actually, I will say living in Japan as a student, I should say living in Tokyo, not Japan, living in Tokyo as a student and being able to speak Japanese, I almost did not face any racism. In the idol and in the entertainment industry, I did. So it's kind of like a different thing, right? So just walking around Tokyo, living my life, I mean, rare occasion somebody might look at you a little long, stare at you, but I didn't really like face like any like real racism, I would say. It was really like in the entertainment industry, like online, like anonymous forums and stuff. People might write like mean comments. Some events, I think, like I could speak pretty much fluent Japanese, but like if a white girl was coming to like an event, and she didn't even speak Japanese, I would have to like translate for her, something like that. That's not like outright racism, but it's more like, why are they getting these opportunities when like I worked hard and, something more like this. I have to work harder to get like the same opportunity. I think it was more so in the. Yeah, definitely. So I definitely I feel like it was. Yeah. It was more in the entertainment industry, though, I will say, than just like in Japan. Like, I think in Tokyo, people are pretty like cosmopolitan.
Okay, so we've had several questions actually or comments come through, so I think we should address these really quick. But before we do that, really quickly, I have to do that shameless plug-in for our sister show, the Honeycomb Hideout. For any of you guys who like anything dealing with, nerd culture, any hot button topics, the Honeycomb Hideout is basically Howard Stern for geeks. You definitely want to check that out. There is a link down in the description right now down below. One of the best shows around that you'll want to listen to. Definitely something you'd want to listen to on a car ride. So when you are not listening to us, please check out the Honeycomb Hideout. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts, I believe, and I'm not sure where else, but it's on those two that I can think of off the top of my head. So make sure that you guys check that out. And also make sure you subscribe to Shining Otaku as well. Now, let's get to some more comments, and then we'll get back to the other part of this interview. All right. Let's see here. I am now a fan of Miss Du Jean. Definitely. This is from Imagine Us TV. Marcel Gray, simple yet profitable. I believe that was in reference to something that we talked about earlier. That is cute, though. Love the hat. Okay, that was in reference to...
the chocolate picture.
Yes, okay. Imagine Us TV, did they lighten her up a little bit on a couple pics? That I'm not sure. I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think a little bit. Yeah, they, like in Asia, they always like lighten up pictures.
Okay. And then Marcel Gray, yet professional cosplaying is a career. And I've been telling people, I've been trying to tell people that we're missing out on money, people. Imagine those TV. I know people like Naomi Osaka complain about skin lightening in the media involving black folk. Did you experience that in your working there?
Yeah, so like in photo shoots, definitely, but nobody like told me to like use bleaching cream or nothing like that. It was more like I don't know in post production, like photos and stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And then Che Baker, what's up, family? What's up, Che? All right.
Hi.
And then we can get back to our interview. Okay.
All right. So, all right. So you where we left off, we mentioned there was there were some charged comments about you in the industry with which kind of alluded to it being a ethnic thing. What's I mean, let me kind of get back more towards the fans versus the professionals in the industry, because obviously you bring a white woman in and you curry. I mean, we see in all other kind of mediums where Japan has always had a love for, let's say, blue eyes, blonde hair. Oh, but
Yeah.
about the fans in particular, I mean, what were some charged comments you were getting out there?
Yeah, it was mostly like on anonymous forums, like people saying like, "Oh, you're black, you can't be an idol." Um, I think people just tend to have like a rigid idea of like how things should be. Not just in Japan, but I think specifically in Japan too. Like people kind of like can't think outside of like this narrative that they know. So like an idol is someone very cute and like innocent and young or something, and that's not what people like. People associate black people with like dancing, basketball, I don't know, cooking good, something like that. So it doesn't really like match up with their idea of like being an idol. And then people would like commonly say, "Kokujin no ni kawaii," like, oh, it kind of means like you're black but you're cute. Not in a way like you're cute for a black girl, but more like it's a pity that you're black, but you're very cute. Kind of like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like in a
Gotcha.
backhanded sort of way. So that was something like people also said. But besides that, that was like mostly from the fans, from people in the industry. It was really like they thought it was like a novelty, something very interesting, but nothing explicitly racist.
So um, with some of those comments online, I believe did it inspire you to create a song called "Seppuku," if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah.
So what, like, take me through the day, the night, or I don't know if it was like when you sat down and you said, "Let me go ahead and craft this song." Like, what was the process? How did it feel?
Yeah, so I was talking with my friends and we're kind of weirdos. So was talking about like I don't know if you know Mishima. He's a Japanese writer. We were like talking about like the concept of seppuku and like ritual like suicide sort of thing. And then Mishima is like this guy. He's like a famous writer from the 20th century, Japanese. And like the story is he was like upset with like the state of Japan. So like in the 70s, he like led this speech like telling people to come and join him or something. I forgot. People were like yelling at him, heckling him. Nobody cared. So then he like, commit seppuku. And this is like if Stephen King or like some big writer like just like, blew their
Right.
head off or something. So they did that. And I heard this story and I was like, wow, this is so crazy. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of edgy and funny. So that was where I got the idea.
Okay, okay. And then also, I mean, you know, at least from what when I read, you also said that was it Tupac's "Hit Me Up" was
Oh
also
yeah. Yeah, I was listening to like a lot of Tupac then too. So funny. I was listening to a
Was
lot
it
of rap
well
actually.
received amongst people when they heard it, or how did a lot of people receive it?
People thought it was like kind of funny, like edgy. Just I think most people kind of had fun with it.
Okay.
So these just kind of close that one out. These the comments. This was this like the popular narrative among the fans, or was this kind of like a minority exceptional case?
Of like that I
The
shouldn't be
ones that were
black
giving you
or like
hate.
seppuku.
Yeah, the ones that give you
Oh,
hate. Yeah.
no, like in person, like at events, people were like really nice. Like people would come see me from Twitter and like come to events, or nobody was like really rude to my face. It was just all like trolls online. So I don't even know if like I don't know. You don't even know how many people that actually is, right?
All right. Okay, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like blowing up online, where it was where it seemed like everybody online had a problem with you. It's just just
No. Yeah, it was just like some trolls kind of thing.
So,
okay.
if you were asked to um, be the one who recruits talent for a J-pop idol, how would you
That's an
handle that
interesting question.
now? Like, let's say you had to basically pull from, I'm gonna say Detroit. You had to pull, someone here, and you had to do that. How would you handle it?
That's an interesting question. Huh. I think I would go along with seeing like how ambitious the person is, because I think a lot of people just want to be famous, which is something like I kind of probably had too, which is not, that's okay, but I don't think that's the best thing for like being a performer, right? If you're being a performer, you're performing for other people. It's not about yourself, it's about other people. So in order to do that, you have to be very empathetic. You have to understand like why people would want to be a fan of you. You have to understand how to become better. You have to like leave your ego aside, and always strive to like work hard. So I think above all else, I would like look for somebody that was like really dedicated to like working really hard. Not just because to be famous for fame's sake or nothing like that, but because they loved idol culture or they really like idol music and they want to connect with people.
So was Karoshi ever like a concern? Just so people that aren't familiar with the term like Karoshi, like Karoshi is kind of like the Japanese term for like overworking or basically overwork. Where um, you're working an excessive amount of hours to the point where it can be detrimental to your health. So that's just to give context to the audience. But um, was that ever a concern in doing this, where you had to either say something to somebody, or did you see it happen with any of the other idols around you?
No, but it probably should have been a concern, because Japan's work culture is very brutal. Yeah, it's like almost every day was going full time to university and working as well, like as an idol and dancing classes. And we would have 2, 3 shows in a day sometimes. It's very intense. Um, so I hadn't seen anybody die, but close to it, very, very working very hard. And they just kind of expect you to like just get on with it. I don't know if that's like an entertainment industry thing. I think some of it is like just entertainment industry thing, but I think a lot of it is because of Japanese culture in general.
Okay. So did anybody ever try to like push you to the limit, and you were just like, like anything like specific like that, like an instance like that?
Yeah, like with my group, I wanted to go back to Michigan to perform or to not perform, to visit my family for Christmas. And they were very like insistent on me like performing for Christmas there, which I understand because it's like Christmas is a big time for like performances and stuff. It's very busy. Economically in general, it's just a busy time of year because people have extra money to spend, even in Japan. But they didn't really understand like the significance of Christmas in the US. So that was kind of like an issue with me. It's like I can take time off for Christmas. I want to just take time off to see my family. I did actually, but yeah, it's like little stuff like that. Like I don't know. It just felt like it was just suffering for the sake of suffering sometimes.
Okay.
There's 2 things you said I want to touch on, but the first one I'm gonna zero in on is you mentioned that one of the hard things for these idols to kind of get around is putting their feelings aside to realize why the fans really enjoy them in particular. Well, what were some of the challenges you incurred? Like, what was it about what the fans liked about you that you had to kind of like get around to basically meet the job, the quota?
Yeah, so I didn't really like take into mind like a lot of people see idols as like something safe that they can like a safe hobby. There's no drama, there's no politics, there's no all this stuff that like we see day-to-day life that makes us very stressed. You can just like follow an idol and it's something very happy and optimistic. So that was something like I didn't really like. I understood it, but I didn't really like care enough about, which I kind of wish I did. So yeah, I think that's like a big part of like why people like idols, and it's hard to be in that state like if you're not really happy yourself, but that's kind of like just what it is, you know.
Okay. And the other thing was in the case of your family, how was it dealing with being over here in Japan? You don't really have, or at least to my knowledge, you don't have any family over here. Like how did that go for you?
Yeah, I would go visit them like twice a year for a few weeks at a time. So I like that. They were supportive of me. Not everybody, but like most of my close family was like supportive of me. They knew I'd like always loved Japanese like pop culture since I was a kid. So they kind of just saw it as something that like I had to do, right? Like I would resent them forever if I like couldn't do that. I mean, that's how it is, you know. So ultimately they were happy that I was safe and I was doing things that I liked, and yeah, I kept in contact with them, but it was hard at times when I missed them.
Oh yeah. Tell me more about the because you said only 2 to 3 times out of the year you met your family. I mean, how often or was it often you were feeling any type of negative feelings about your standing there in Japan?
Yeah, it's like when you're young, especially like in Michigan, you're kind of eager to just go and see somewhere else, you know? So I think that was a big part of it too. Everything is new. I'm out of my parents' house. I can go and see the world. So it was exciting.
I actually want to
Yeah.
zero in. So, like, we're in the idol industry. Is there like a community that is like supportive, for people who are engaged in that? Like, if let's say, you know, or is it more introverted? Like maybe you're on the stage, you're extroverted, but when you guys are kind of off, it's like everybody kind of goes in their own corner. Like, what is it really like in that regard?
Yeah, so group members are definitely more like colleagues than we are like best friends. And I know like a lot of idol fans think, oh, the group members are all best friends. It's very much like they're your coworker, right? Like you might go out to eat with your coworker after work, you might be friendly with them, but except for like some cases, you're not going to be super super close to like your coworker. So that was kind of like how it was with just my group. As for like the bigger idol community, there's a community of like foreign or like non-Japanese people who were going into idol stuff. That community is kind of close, so they were like always a wealth of support, as well as I did Miss ID, which was a contest led by Kodansha for like weird or like odd idols, kind of strange people. And that community was very close as well, actually. So that was like my first time having like a very close community because everybody was kind of like an outsider.
Okay. We had a comment just come in from Imaginos TV, which actually is a really good question. What are you into these days professionally?
Yeah, these days I like technology. I like internet culture. That's basically what I'm working in now. I don't really share like my specific job now, but that's basically what I'm working in now. And I live in Silicon Valley or close to Silicon Valley. I live in San Francisco. Um, Beyond that, I like creating content. So that's been like a fun little hobby of mine. So I hope to expand that in the near future.
Okay.
I mean, you said Silicon Valley. I'm not surprised if you're involved in tech to any degree. You're trying to see what's high popping, highlighted, there as far as advancements in technology. I mean, yeah, this place to be. But
Have you been here to Northern California?
Actually,
Have you been there?
No, I've never been actually, but I mean, I've been to Japan a couple times, but I've never been to.
Nice.
Yeah, that's about it. I've been to Japan. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to several other states, just not Cali yet. So
There's a big nerd community here.
oh no, I imagine. Yeah, and they have
Like so much. Yeah.
I know when was it I believe it's San Diego, or maybe it's LA that has Anime Expo. Maybe LA that has it.
Yeah. That's actually like pretty far from me. But like it's like 8-hour drive. But yeah, I've been there before. AX. LA is nice, and they have like a big nerd community too. But like San Francisco, I think because of all the tech stuff like Nico was like talking about, it's like such like it's like a heaven for nerds in the US, at least. If you're not going to be like in Japan, there's like at least like 3 comic book stores like in the area that like I live in like alone, and like they have manga, they have like events. Everybody's like super like open-minded with that stuff.
So with like obviously you decided to stop doing the J-pop idol career after about 3 years or so. What was your final decision process in doing that, and why don't you want to return? Like, is there any way that you ever would return to that?
Yeah, so idols are kind of like, it's like a short-term thing, right? Like in Japan, at least for idols, it's like you're an idol for a few years and then you become an actress. You're an idol for a few years and then you become a professional artist, like a singer or something. An idol is supposed to be kind of like a training time, a period for you to like really get the skills you need to be a performer and then go into like this next chapter. So it's never supposed to be like this full thing, right? For me, I think now like I'd like to make music, write lyrics and stuff, and like put stuff on YouTube. So I definitely would like to do that. As for live in Japan, maybe for like a year or like a short amount of time, like 6 months or something, I'd like to live in Japan again, but not like forever.
Okay, let's see here. All right, so I guess we're getting ready to get into our final set of questions, our traditional questions, if you will. So this one's going to be a little bit different because typically we ask a lot of artists if they have a rival, of sorts. Did you have any rival while you were in J-pop as an idol, or rivals?
Rivals. I'm trying to think. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Kiki Palmer.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know.
I thought you were going to leave it open-ended. For a minute, I thought you was going to leave it open-ended. Okay.
The reason I say that is because people say I look like her. I don't know. It's a stupid answer.
Well, Kiki Palmer, if she listens to this.
I'm like the evil version, maybe.
Okay. Let's see here. What is our... Actually, before we do the next question, I do want to give one more shout out, actually, to the Honeycomb Hideout, since, of course, we're coming closer to the end of this episode. Again, if you've never checked out the Honeycomb Hideout, I recommend you check it out if you like anything dealing with nerd culture. You like those hot button topics within the community, whether it be in comics and whether it be otaku culture, the full 9 yards. The Honeycomb Hideout is your place to check that out and listen to it. It is an 18 and up podcast. I know some of you out there won't listen to that, but it is an 18 up podcast. So I do recommend listening to it on your drive and having a nice time with it. And tell them that you sent it, or that we sent you. All right. Now getting back to this, looks like we have another question that came through. What's on your bookshelf? I don't even see a bookshelf, actually.
Yeah, I have my stuff up, so you can't see my house. But yeah, what's on my bookshelf? That's a good question. I really like Afrofuturism now, so Octavia Butler is great. I recommend Parable of the Sower. Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny about Parable of the Sower? Hold on, let me see. I mean, it's a very old copy. I have one sitting right here.
Oh, nice.
And I have Parable of the Talents, which is the book.
I still need to read it. Yeah.
So
yeah, she's
very
great.
good. How long have you been into Octavia Butler?
In high school, like I read a few of her books. I read like Kindred and like some other stuff. I forgot the other one. But then recently during the pandemic, I started reading, or I read Parable of the Sower, and I need to read the full trilogy.
So if you had to,
she's great.
What you've read of her works so far, which one is your favorite?
Definitely Parable. Yeah, Parable of the Sower.
Okay. You gotta get on some Octavia Butler, Nico. You know, you got to do it, man. You got to do it.
Oh, hey, I already know. All right. So before we roll into the final question here, because again, I think about the obviously, we do a show for the audience, of course, but I think about those that are aspiring to go down your route as far as becoming an idol, in Japan. I mean, any and everybody that has an interest in that typically are really big fans of the Japanese culture to a very large degree, and so it would already make one dream come true just flying over there, just experiencing the culture. But it's like two dreams in one, where you get to basically work there, as an idol of sorts. What if you had to name one detail in particular, or one thing in particular? What's one thing you would advise these aspiring, I'll say men and women?
Yeah, keep going for your dreams. Like I said, learn Japanese. It's going to be like the most important thing if you want to be in Japan. Make your own music. That's also good. Don't wait for like a company to invest in you. Like invest in yourself if this is your dream. Spend a lot of time and effort just really working on your craft, and ultimately, yeah, just keep at it.
I have it. Now we get into the we have any more comments in it?
Well, actually, before we get into the final question, I have one other one. If you ever did return, or if you ever do return, maybe not to being a J-pop idol, but I'm going to just say like the entertainment industry, how do you plan on advancing the game?
Yeah, I plan on, if I was going to be in the entertainment industry again, like what would I do? Is what you're asking? Or advancing stuff?
What way would you advance the game, essentially? Like everybody gets in, everybody plugs themselves in, but what would you do that would be different than everyone else out there?
I would like to make like maybe
I'm gonna be smiling.
Yeah. She has her own media company now. I would like to do something like that, like to create like a company, like to manage or like produce media for like creatives who kind of think like outside of the box. Like I'm really into like counterculture, so like comic books, manga, documentaries, stuff like that. I'd like to do like a multimedia sort of thing to help people go towards their dreams, and I don't know. I think that would be very interesting. I appreciate art, so I'd like to bring out more art to the world.
So have you read any like original English language manga by any chance?
Like in English? Yeah, I used to read manga.
Yeah, like
in
manga
English.
that's been I'm gonna
like it started.
Even though it's technically not considered OEL, so please, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, I'm not trying to say your stuff is OEL because I know you don't consider it to be OEL, but like something that is very manga inspired is essentially where I'm going with this. Like some people consider like, even though it's not manga, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, I used to love Avatar. Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of one. I've read comic books that are originally from America and zines and stuff, but not necessarily like, I don't know what would be like a manga inspired. If you know any, let me know that are like English language mangas.
We definitely will. But in any case,
yeah.
Getting to our final question, Nico, why don't you roll with that one?
Right. So I mean, hey, before that, like we were saying, we had a few more comments that came in. The great Imaginals TV said, "Great question, Marcel." I also commented with, it's funny. I know the voice is used for this too. Wow, you know, we're going to have futurism around here. Uh, Marcel commented saying, "Thanks. See, this is why I always ask this. I like to see what folks are reading. The bookshelf can be physical or metaphorical." So there you have it. Now, the traditional question of the show. We we like to know the big question of what is what's next? What's your ultimatum? Where do you see all this going? You know, what is your end game? Patting it after.
Yeah, we're Thanos. We want to know what is your end game. Yes, to what end?
Yeah, so I guess now I'm really focusing on like my YouTube channel and that stuff. So if anybody's interested, you can see down below. I really want to get better at like my craft, like at editing, filming, story creating, and I'd like to like do content about like internet culture. So like I'm into like nerd culture, I'm into like geek culture, whatever. But I want to do like you know, like the Sonic, this is just an example. The Sonic fandom is like pretty crazy. Not crazy in a bad way, but they're like very intense. I want to do like a video like, why are Sonic fans like so intense? You know, I really want to like get into it and like understand like the sociological side of like internet culture and nerd culture. So that's what I want to do in the future.
So you're really a researcher at heart.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It's just I had so many individuals pop in here when you said how.
Oh, Sonic, yeah.
The Sonic fans, how they can be. I'm very familiar with them. You know, it probably has something to do with Sega, but we won't.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is something that we don't know. So I'm just going to ask, like, you know, are you by chance maybe a graduate student, or are you a professor? You know, and maybe you just haven't thrown it out there.
Oh no, I'm actually I'm considering doing that research for graduate student. But like my background is like in research. Yeah.
Okay. You know, so maybe
but I work in tech now. But yeah.
Maybe we'll see Professor Du Jean one day. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, researcher of nerd culture.
I love it.
All right. Okay, well, should I see one comment right here from Marcel? I want a shirt, Irvin. We will be having Shining Otaku shirts available one of these days, so you guys will see that. And we'll let everybody know when that is available. You know, we know Mark Dudley, which is, you know, our coach. I have to say coach because he gets mad when he gets called the sensei. But the coach, you know, has been pushing that. So with that being said, before we wrap up, last thing I want to say, Amina, where can we find you? We have a couple of your social media links down below, but I want them to hear it from the artist herself.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Amina Du Jean. You can find me on Substack, aminadujean.substack.com, and then YouTube, just youtube.com/ they have the new handle thing at Amina Du Jean. So yeah, all the same name everywhere.
Okay. All right, there you guys have it. If I want to throw out there again, if you guys are new to Shining Otaku, make sure you subscribe. We have a few episodes left within this Shining Spotlight season. I think these last few episodes you guys are really going to enjoy within this month. The next episode is next week. We are going to be interviewing Jan Scott Frazier. So if you know anything about Jan Scott Frazier, Jan Scott Frazier, she's an animator. She's been in the industry a super long time. She's monumental to this industry. You know, if you are anywhere like a nerd like we are, then you have to thank Jan Scott Frazier. So make sure you check out that interview next Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with us. And make sure you check out some of our upcoming projects as well. You know, we do have an anthology project coming out, and we do have a one-shot coming out called Killbox, which is a hip-hop battle rap manga story that you guys can check out coming out pretty soon. With that being said, we want to thank Amina again for coming on today, telling us everything about, her journey in the industry, and we hope that this has been helpful to all of you guys out there. But again, we want to give a big thanks to Amina for coming on. So thank you for coming on today. And
thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And with that being said, guys, you all have a wonderful night, and we'll see you guys next week.
Catch you all later, Shining Light.